Hello and welcome back to my channel, everyone. Thank you for joining me, the MMA Girl, Jess, on my channel. Thank you for coming back, fight fans, and thank you very much for tuning in to my latest video. We are on UFC 322, and I'm ready to get into UFC 322 and all the good stuff. I hope you guys have had a great week and hopefully having a great fight week indeed. And we are only 3 short days away from UFC 322 at Madison Square Garden. And this card is a welterweight division card. This is a welterweight fight card. We have 3 welterweight fights on the main card of UFC 322. And of course, we have a stacked early prelim and prelim card as well, not to be missed out on. Now, we're going to get into the prelims card first and all the stuff you shouldn't miss out on. And then we'll go into my UFC 322 main card picks. Let's go. So on this prelim card, we have 2 prelim cards. Of course, we have the early prelim card and the prelim card. Now, on the early prelim card, one of the very first fights on this card, we are getting the return of Baysangor Susurkayev, who is at 10-0. And if you don't remember him, guys, this is Hamza Chimaev's beloved training partner. And of course, Hamza Chimaev's recommendation to the UFC when they signed him. He, of course, debuted in UFC at UFC 319, but he debuted 4 days earlier at Dana White's Contender Series, where he got his contract and signed it on the dotted line. 4 days later, he was at UFC 319 for Hamza Chimaev's return to the octagon, where he gained, of course, the middleweight belt against Dricus du Plessis. And on the same card, Baysangor got his win over Eric Nolan via first round sub. Now he is back and he'll be taking on another Eric in Islam Makhachev. And he is on a record of 10 victories to 3 defeats. Baysangor will be a challenge for Islam Makhachev. Baysangor, of course, coming back to the octagon after his win at UFC 319. This is huge, guys. At Madison Square Garden, he's going to be able to continue on his way up the middleweight rankings. And of course, he'll be in the trenches with the top 10 in no time. Angela Hill is back in the strawweight division for a fight against Fatima Klein. Fatima Klein has a record of 8 victories to 1 defeat. And of course, Angela Hill has a record of 18 victories to 15 defeats. She needs to get those victories up because, of course, she's nearing the same amount of victories as she has defeats. So she needs to get the victory on Saturday night. And I can't wait to see Angela Hill back in the octagon. It's been a while. Gerald Meerschaft is back with a record of 37 victories to 20 defeats. He'll be taking on Kyle Dorcas with a record of 16 victories to 4 defeats. These middleweights are going to be having a banger fight. This will be a brawl, a real dog fight, and I can't wait to see who will finish who, because there will be a finishers fight, that's for sure. On the prelim fights card, we have Malcolm Wellmaker. Of course, he has the same record as Baysangor, 10 victories to 0 defeats. He is undefeated, and he'll be coming back in the octagon for this bantamweight bout against Cody Haddon. Cody Haddon, who has a record of 8 victories to 1 defeat. This fight is not to be mixed because if Malcolm is who he thinks he is and who we think he is, this fight will be one and done for him, and it'll be a great finish as well. Cannot wait to see if he gets the 50k bonus. Erin Blanchfield is back after her cancelled bout against Macy Barber, which almost happened at the Apex, but unfortunately was cancelled just before Erin Blanchfield walked out into the octagon. So it's been quite some time since Erin Blanchfield has fought. She has not fought at all in 2025. She was supposed to fight, of course, against Barber in June of this year, but unfortunately that was cancelled. So she has to wait until Saturday in November, the 15th of November exactly, to face Tracy Cortez. Tracy Cortez, of course, looking to get back in that win column. And Erin Blanchfield is a huge challenge for Tracy Cortez. I am not saying that she can't win, but Erin Blanchfield is really hard to beat. So Erin Blanchfield here has a record of 13 victories to 2 defeats. Versus Tracy Cortez's record of 12 victories to 2 defeats. Both women have the same amount of defeats. Very great matchmaking here from the UFC. And they're both, for me, 2 flyweights who I'm not sure how they haven't fought each other yet. So I'm really excited to see this happen in the octagon on the prelims card of UFC 322. Next up, we have Roman Kopylov with a record of 14 victories to 4 defeats. He'll be taking on Robocop Gregory Rodriguez, who is coming off of his last victory against Jake Hermanson via first round KO. And of course, both men looking to stay in the win column. Kopylov, of course, coming off of his loss to Paulo Costa, looking to get back in that win column. So this should be an interesting middleweight bout, to say the least. And we also are finishing the prelims card with another middleweight bout between Bo Nickal, the returning Bo Nickal, who has not been back since his last fight against RDR Reina Divida, where he lost via second round KO. He used to have an untarnished record of 7-0 defeats. Now he has a tarnished record of 7-1. It's not a big deal. But of course, Bo Nickal, of course, looking to get back in that win column to prove to the UFC that they haven't made a mistake about him. And he'll be taking on Rodolfo Vieira, who has a record of 11 victories to 3 defeats. Great matchmaking from the UFC. Great challenge for Bo Nickal. This will be his chance to buy back a place in the main card of any numbered cards, because of course he was supposed to be on the main card of this fight card until a couple of weeks ago. The UFC announced the new order for UFC 222 and he was no longer on the main card, because the main card now has BSD versus Beneil Dariush, which it didn't have in the first place. Beneil Dariush and BSD were supposed to have it on the prelims card, but I think the UFC changed their minds and said, nah, BSD versus Beneil Dariush is way better for the main card than for the prelims card. And I totally agree. Benoit Saint-Denis is on a 2-fight win streak, 2 submissions in a row. He just is coming off of a win over Mauricio Rufy at UFC Paris to now come to UFC 222 and do his thing against Beneil Dariush, who is a big name and huge competition. It makes more sense to put him on the main card. Bo Nickal is coming off of a loss. He's not fought in a long time. Rodolfo Vieira is not a big name. Best off putting them on the prelims card, which is of course where Bo Nickal belongs right now. If Bo Nickal wins in stylish fashion on Saturday night, then he'll probably be back on the UFC's good list. But for now, we'll put him on the prelims card, and who's good there, I think, is the best place for him. So now let's get into our main card picks and breakdown. This is a huge card. I'm always very excited, as you might tell, but this time around I'm really excited. This card is just stacked to the nines. Just the prelims card on its own is worth a trillion Apex cards, or even any card that's not a numbered card. A lot of those prelim card fights could be on those cards and be headliners. So for us to have not even gone over the main card yet is just mind-blowing to me. And on this main card, I'm just so excited to see what happens between every one of these people, and who will come out with belts at the end is just crazy stuff. I cannot wait. As I said at the start of this video, this is a welterweight main card. Of course, we have Benoit Saint-Denis starting off in the lightweight division on this main card. He'll be facing off against Beneil Dariush. Benoit Saint-Denis has currently got a record of 15 victories to 3 defeats, and Beneil Dariush has a record of 23 victories to 6 defeats and 1 draw. Now, if I were to break down this fight in terms of skills, then of course Beneil Dariush has the better fight IQ. He has more experience. He's a great grappler and he's great on the feet. But Benoit Saint-Denis has the age advantage. He is younger. Beneil Dariush edging the end of his career at 36 years old, whereas of course Benoit Saint-Denis is not even 30 yet. He's 29 years old. Now, in terms of height and reach, Benoit Saint-Denis is a little bit taller than Beneil Dariush, and his reach is just that little bit longer. So we're looking at two men who are statistically almost the same, but Benoit Saint-Denis has statistically the advantage here. And I think Benoit Saint-Denis not only does have the advantage here, but I think he will win this fight. Benoit Saint-Denis, BSD, is more dynamic, quicker on his feet. He's great on the feet and great on the ground. I think he could pull off a 3rd round TKO victory via ground and pound, or get the UD over Beneil Dariush. But if we go off of maths, MMA maths, which is completely bogus, of course, Benoit Saint-Denis will lose to Beneil Dariush, because Beneil Dariush just won his last fight against Rodolfo Vieira, and Rodolfo Vieira beat Benoit Saint-Denis last year via doctor stoppage at UFC Paris, the 3rd edition of UFC Paris, no less, and in the most insane fashion, because of course Benoit Saint-Denis left the arena with eyes bigger than the sun, swollen like you've never seen, and he still wanted to compete. He still wanted to continue the fight. So bravo, Benoit, but you had to end this fight because you're going to lose your eyes. But if we went by MMA maths, of course Benoit Saint-Denis would lose this fight, but he's not. I don't think Benoit Saint-Denis would lose this fight, even though Beneil Dariush was able to win against Rodolfo Vieira. Their styles in their fighting styles are not the same, and I think that Beneil Dariush will be a little bit slower than Benoit Saint-Denis is, and Benoit Saint-Denis will win this fight, I think. Next up, we have the returning former champion Leon Edwards, coming back after his loss to Sean Brady in March at UFC London, who will be taking on Carlos Prates. Carlos Prates, a Brazilian fighting nerd with a record of 22 victories to 7 defeats, and Leon Edwards has a current record of 22 victories to 5 defeats. So they're on the same amount of victories. Great matchmaking from the UFC, and obviously great matchmaking for the welterweight division, because this fight will define so many things. Of course, we saw Carlos Prates lose against Ian Gary. Now, Leon Edwards wants to win this fight against Carlos Prates and then fight Ian Gary as well. If Leon Edwards is able to pull off a win here against Carlos Prates, he'll then be able to go on to fighting Ian Gary with much more of an argument to fight Ian Gary, since he would have beaten Carlos Prates, who almost beat Ian Gary. But of course, Ian Gary got the UD victory in there. Very tight, but it was a victory for Ian Gary, fair and square. Now, if he gets a victory over Ian Gary as well, then Leon Edwards would like to challenge for the belt again. Now, that's in the near future, but we're talking about now at the UFC 322, and he needs to get past Carlos Prates, who will not be an easy challenge. The fighting note, of course, coming off of his win over Jeff Neal via the spinning elbow. That was violent, that was nasty, that was brutal. Do I think that Carlos Prates will win against Leon Edwards? No. Personally, I do not think that Leon Edwards will lose to a stand-up striker. Of course, Leon Edwards, I don't like when he says, I'm so happy I'm going to fight a striker. This is going to be much easier for me. This is going to be in my element. I get it. That's probably what I'd say to myself as well. But don't say that out loud. That's my opinion. I don't think it's something he should say out loud, because that means that every time a grappler comes across Leon Edwards, they know that they're going to win, because Leon Edwards does not do well with grapplers at all. He just loses all motivation and completely shuts down, as he did against Belal, as he did against Sean Brady. And Sean Brady did one better than Belal, because Sean Brady was actually able to submit Leon Edwards in the 4th round. Now, if Carlos Prates plays his cards right and he uses Leon Edwards' weaknesses to his advantage, he may be able to take Leon Edwards down and maybe do some grappling and get the best of him on the ground. But I think that Carlos Prates will stick to his original plan, which of course would be striking, staying on the feet, getting those good strikes in there, and hopefully getting those 1-2s to get a victory. But I don't think Leon Edwards will be easily beaten here. I think he is at a loss right now for what to do, and he doesn't want to lose any more fights because he has enormous ambitions in the UFC. He still wants to be champion one day, even though he's already been one champion in the past, because he lost his belt only recently at the end of the day. But things have just changed so quickly in the welterweight division that we have the impression that Leon Edwards was a champion 4 or 5 years ago, when it was just last year that he lost his belt against Belal Muhammad. So getting that belt back is, of course, his main objective in this fight. So he has to win against Carlos Prates. That mentality, plus the fact that he is an amazing striker, don't forget, I think will edge the win for Leon Edwards. Do I think he'll KO Carlos Prates? No, I don't think he will. I think he'll get the UD victory here over 3 rounds. He hasn't got much time. He's used to 5 rounders, of course, being the champion. He's now going to have to work on those 3 rounds, get some quick action in there, and try and break down Carlos Prates until he gets the UD victory. I'd be happy for Leon Edwards to see him KO Carlos Prates, because that would propulse him, that would push him to a better position with the UFC to ask for that fight against Ian Gary. So hopefully he'll get the KO victory here, but I believe that Leon Edwards will pull off a UD victory over Carlos Prates at UFC 322. What do you guys think? Speaking of Sean Brady is also on this card, guys. Of course, we have a lot of fighters on this card that have already met each other in the octagon, and this is a prime example. We have Sean Brady, who is at 18 victories to 1 defeat. He is completely and utterly the most, for me, dominant grappler in the top 10 of the welterweight division right now. He is insane, and he'll be taking on another insane person, Morales. Michael Morales, of course, he is undefeated with 18 victories to 0 defeats. So he's almost got the same record as Sean Brady, minus Sean Brady's 1 single defeat, which was to Belal Muhammad, of course. Now, Sean Brady, if he takes Morales down, then it's game over for Morales, in my opinion. Morales, of course, is coming in with a huge height advantage and a huge reach advantage to Sean Brady. Sean Brady is 5'10" and Michael Morales is 6 foot. And Sean Brady has a reach of 72 inches to Michael Morales's 79 inches reach. Michael Morales, he has the advantages in this fight, of course, being as he is much taller and he has a longer reach. However, Sean Brady is a beast, and he's the favorite in this fight at minus 135 to Michael Morales's plus 115. Sean Brady has more experience in the UFC. Sean Brady is a great striker. However, he is ultimately the best grappler we have seen in the welterweight division for a long time. And I think that Michael Morales won't know what's hit him when he gets to the ground with Sean Brady. We, of course, saw Michael Morales take on Gilbert Burns in the Apex, and we know how that went down for Gilbert Burns. Of course, Gilbert Burns, a skilled grappler as well. He wasn't able to take Michael Morales down as much as he was probably wanting to, but that's because he wasn't able to get those takedowns. So will Sean Brady struggle to take down Michael Morales? I think so. Will he be able to? I think so too. So I think this could go with a late stoppage for Sean Brady via submission, of course, or a UD victory for Sean Brady thanks to his takedowns and control time. That's how I think this fight will go down. I think he'll take some damage though from Michael Morales because he's a real heavy hitter, but I think that Sean Brady will get the win here, fair and square. And for the co-main event of the evening, we have the women's flyweight title bout between former champion Weili Zhang, of course, former champion of the strawweight division, who is moving up to the flyweight division. Of course, new champion of the strawweight division is Mackenzie Dern. Now we're getting Weili Zhang, former champion, facing the current flyweight champion, Valentina Shevchenko. And this is a huge champion versus champion fight, and I cannot wait to see it. I honestly can't wait. Of course, both the the main event and the co-main event are champion versus champion fights. Both contenders for the belts have let their belts go to move up a weight class. They have not lost their titles. So both Islam Makhachev and Weili Zhang are both in their own rights extremely powerful and skilled champions that have not lost their championship belts. They have decided to move along and move up. So a champion versus champion fight between Weili Zhang and Valentina Shevchenko is just beautiful, and I can't wait to see it. Valentina Shevchenko could lose against Weili Zhang in this fight if Weili Zhang plays their cards right. Now, statistically, both girls are similar in height. Valentina Shevchenko is 5'5" to Weili Zhang's 5'4". In terms of reach, however, Valentina has the advantage of 66.5 inches to 63 inches of Weili Zhang's reach. But however, I don't think that will make as much of a difference for Weili Zhang. I think she'll be able to pull off a late stoppage in this fight or the UD for the win of this new belt for Weili Zhang. Even though Valentina Shevchenko is the best of the best, I think Weili Zhang is in her prime right now, and she will get that win at UFC 322. What do you think? Who will take home the UFC women's flyweight title on Saturday night at UFC 322 in Madison Square Garden in New York? Let me know what you think will happen in this women's flyweight championship fight for the co-main event of this evening. And for the main event of the evening, we of course are getting the newly crowned Della Maddalena, the champion of the welterweight division, taking on former UFC lightweight champion Islam Makhachev with a record of 27 victories to 1 single defeat to Jack's 18 victories to 2 defeats. Of course, Islam Makhachev with a huge record in terms of his wins compared to Jack Della. And of course, now coming up is Islam Makhachev, former UFC lightweight champion, moving up to welterweight to become double champ, like Alex Pereira did, like Conor McGregor did, like Ilia Topuria. In terms of height, Jack Della Maddalena is 5'11" and Islam Makhachev is 5'10". In terms of reach, Jack Della Maddalena has a reach of 73 inches to Islam Makhachev 70.5 inches. So similar, but Jack has yet again the reach and height advantage. Now, who will win this fight? That is the question on everyone's minds right now. I feel like there is a group of people that are 100% behind Jack Della Maddalena, who believe that Jack has what it takes in terms of striking and his takedown defense having improved enormously, having worked with people like Craig Jones, Alexander Volkanovski to improve his grappling as much as possible. Because don't forget, of course, Alexander Volkanovski has gone 5 rounds toe-to-toe with the best of the best, Islam Makhachev. So he knows what to expect in terms of grappling from Islam. So he's been able to help Jack Della to be as ready as possible for Islam Makhachev in terms of his grappling and his takedown defense. However, being a good striker or a great striker or an elite striker, a high-level striker like Jack Della Maddalena, for me, is not going to be enough to beat Islam Makhachev. I believe that Islam Makhachev is just another breed of fighter, like Hamza Chimaev, like John Jones. These are people that just cannot be beaten in my eyes. And Islam losing to Jack Della Maddalena, I'd be pleasantly surprised for Jack, but I just don't see how it's possible. I just don't see how that could happen. Islam is just too good. On the feet, on the ground, he is 100% the most complete fighter we've ever seen. And as Jack said himself, I don't see it as striker versus grappler, because Jack is a great striker. That's his strong point. But Islam is just the most incredible, all-rounded, well-rounded fighter. He is complete to complete. Islam Makhachev will win on Saturday night, and he'll take home his second belt from the UFC in the welterweight division this time round. I think Jack won't look as good as we think he will. And I think that whilst he may do some damage on Islam, because Alexander Volkanovski was able to do some damage on Islam Makhachev, I believe that Jack Della Maddalena will, of course, do some damage on Islam. Islam will not come out of this unscathed. However, Islam will get the 3rd round or 4th round submission against Jack Della Maddalena, and that'll be it, guys. That is it. That is how this will go down. He may get a ground and pound win, TKO over Jack, because he'll have the position, so he may capitalize on it and get that ground and pound. But Jack's a great striker, so he'll defend his striking as much as possible. But in whatever case may be, Jack will not win this fight, in my opinion. I'd love to see it. Another win for Jack Della Maddalena, first defense of his title. I cannot see a version of the future showing Jack Della Maddalena champion at the end of UFC 322. I'd love to, but I just don't see it. I'd love to know what you guys think of this fight. What do you guys think of Jack Della Maddalena and Islam Makhachev? Do you think Islam Makhachev will, as I said, reign supreme and take the welterweight bout from Jack Della Maddalena? Or will Jack Della surprise the world and defend his title against the most vicious, dominant, scary champion we've ever seen in Islam Makhachev? Let me know in the comments down below. Let me know your picks in my votes on my page. And I'll see you guys in a couple of days for an episode of my podcast. Bye.